Alright, so there will be massive changes made to the UFC in 2025, and hopefully it's all for the better and doesn't burn the company to the ground. First off, there was a recent report which stated that the UFC pay-per-view numbers have decreased significantly over the past couple of years, and ESPN are supposedly disappointed with the lack of buys. Now, there's multiple reasons why UFC pay-per-view buys are down, and I hope this lights a fire under the company's arse to fix some of the more egregious problems with the organization in 2025. The number one reason why pay-per-view buys are down is because of how fucking easy it is to pirate events, especially compared to buying the pay-per-view itself. I'm not going to tell you how to pirate the UFC obviously, but it's a pretty simple process, and if the UFC wants to increase their pay-per-view numbers, they've got to make it easy for the dumb casual consumer to buy the event. Casuals tuning into the UFC hear terms like ESPN Plus and UFC Fight Pass, and they're sitting there like, yeah, but how the fuck do I just buy this goddamn event? If the UFC had one global platform that featured pay-per-views to buy every month, like a Netflix or an Amazon, then they would see pay-per-view buys go up. People don't hate paying for stuff, they just want it to be a quick and convenient process. And with the UFC's contract with ESPN coming to an end in 2025, I think they should follow suit with the WWE and make Netflix their primary broadcast partner. Everyone around the world knows what Netflix is. It's a global brand and not locked to any region, so hopefully that'll mitigate any confusion for the average consumer about how to buy the pay-per-view, and they'll be able to buy pay-per-views easier. At the moment, I just don't think their pay-per-view model is user-friendly enough, and the price for said pay-per-views are very anti-consumer as well. Charging $70 or whatever for a pay-per-view is fucking nuts in this day and age, especially for some of the lackluster cards they've been producing recently. If they could cut down the price to maybe $30 or at the most $40, then they'll see a whole lot more fans wanting to buy it. Fans will no doubt do what they did back in the day. Bring a group of friends along to their house to chip in for a pay-per-view, some beer, some pizza, and have a great night watching the fight card. For $70, it's like each pay-per-view better be 10 out of 10 quality every single time. That leads me onto my next issue with the product, which I hope they can fix in 2025. Look at this pay-per-view and you tell me if it's worth $70. $70 of your hard-earned money. Just let me know. Let me know in the comment section. My point has been made. There's just too many fucking events, and that waters down the product as a whole. I get it, the UFC needed to produce 30 fight nights a year and 12 pay-per-view events or whatever to maintain the deal they had with ESPN. But now that the deal is gonna be up soon, I hope that Netflix or the UFC's next partner don't make them dilute the events. On some of these fight nights, it's like I don't even know half the people fighting, and the promotion doesn't do a good enough job explaining why I should care about them. Sure, you get some fight nights like UFC London, which have some decent star power on it, but those events are few and far between. This may sound harsh, but the UFC can cut their roster in half, and I feel like it would be a better product as a result. The UFC needs to focus on quality over quantity in 2025, and I hope a lot of this dilution is only because of the ESPN deal, and if they go to Netflix or someone else, they'll handle the brand with more care and truly just put on the best of the best fights. Netflix are notoriously not a fan of the pay-per-view model, so we may see a day where the UFC drops it entirely, which would be fucking insane and pretty incredible, but I'm not holding my breath. If the deal goes through, perhaps we'll have to pay a premium fee of like $20 on top of our regular Netflix subscription for all the fight nights and all that other kind of bullshit. Then when a huge pay-per-view gets made, we'll have to pay for that as well. Kinda like what DAZN has been doing over the past couple of years. Either way, I hope that Netflix potentially and the UFC can make these events more affordable, less of a hassle to buy, and fill them up with quality named fighters. I was literally in the car today with my dad and brother, and I asked them, why do you think pay-per-views have gone down for the UFC? And at the same fucking time, they gave me 2 to 3 different answers. There has also been a lack of superstars in the UFC recently, which is another factor for the lack of pay-per-view buys. Of course, there are popular fighters, but no breakthrough pay-per-view stars that many fans are putting $70 down for. $70. I think we're in a bit of a transition period for the promotion, where a lot of older fighters are petering out, and the younger generation are stepping up. Volk getting beat by Topuria, Adesanya getting beat by Imanov, Tom Aspinall vs John Jones, Tom beating John Jones if that ever happens, Hamzat beating Usman. There's definitely a passing of the torch going on at the moment, and fans might just not care about the fighters coming up as much. This happens like every 7 years or so. It's not the first time for the company, but in the short term, it might affect pay-per-view buys. On top of that, the pay-per-view model has changed so much since 2009. The accessibility of illegal streams is insane, and if they want to combat that, they've got to make it as easy to buy the pay-per-view.
Like, everybody in the world is like, take my fucking credit card and just let me have the thing and I'll pay. But if you're gonna be a pain in the ass, fuck you, I can steal all of it.
2025 is gonna be a crazy year for the UFC, and it's definitely a period of transition. Please, I'd love to hear your predictions about where the promotion is going to go, and I'll catch you down the road.